Tom Garrett, former congressman from Virginia's 5th District, and I was on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and have actually spent some time in KRG and in Rojava as well, on my own, not with Congress, but just gone, and hope to get back soon and have a great deal of respect for the tolerance and the security that's on display in KRG, and hope to see that spread across the region. So. Well, I think that we've made mistakes as a nation, the United States, in the past by presuming that threats had abated when they hadn't. A great example is the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and there was obviously an ultimate liberation of Afghanistan, and then the United States walked away, and that allowed for radicals to sort of fill that vacuum. And a decade later, you've got bin Laden, right, and the Taliban. I think as it relates to not just KRG and Kurdistan in Iraqi Kurdistan, but truly the Kurdish populations in Turkey, in Iran, in Syria, that the threats aren't just ISIS, right? I mean, you're surrounded by threats. You've seen Baghdad sort of ignore the Iraqi constitution. You've seen sort of a marginalization of Kurds in Iran and violent attacks against Kurds and things blamed on Kurds in Turkey. And so what I would advocate and what I do for a living now is suggesting that the United States should base its foreign policy on shared values, the Kurdish value of tolerance, of respect across interfaith lines, of broad political ideas, right, from the far left and sort of communist ideas to, the embracing of free markets. These are good things. So these are sort of an analysis of the many threats that face Kurdistan and what the U.S. policy should be. Focus on these common values and support people who share those values, and I think that everyone wins if we do that. Well, I think, it's been, almost 5 years since the last time he appeared, and I believe that it was a calculation on their part that if he did not appear soon, he would almost be marginalized, right? And so I think that it was a tactical decision. Certainly I asked the same questions that everyone else asks. Where is he? If the government in Baghdad will work with the Kurdish regional government in Erbil, with the exception of some very rural outlying areas, I think there's stability and security. But all we need to do is sleep for one moment. And he's shown no compunction, no respect for any human life, not Christian life, not Muslim life, not Yazidi life. And so we have to stand together, united against hate. And so that's what I hope, that he showed his face because he had to. That should make us work harder. That's a tough question, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that makes the United States special, one of the things that you have in the Kurdish regional government, certainly relative to some of your neighbors, is a freedom to speak, is a freedom of opinion. That opinion should not include the right to preach murder and hate. So I don't think we need to place restrictions on social media, but I do think that we need to double down our efforts to find the people, not the people who say things we don't agree with, but the people who say things that lead people to take lives, to destroy communities, to displace minorities. So I would not support personally cracking down and restricting social media or the internet, but I do think that we should use these tools better than our opponents. We've failed to do that in the past. We need to do better in the future. I mean, I never like to disagree with the person who's interviewing me, but I disagree. And here's why. I understand that politics often motivates horrific behavior. In this instance, the behavior has been so horrific as to be beyond what we've seen in the area in recent years, right? There's been terrible tragedy in Southwest Asia, in Iraq, in Kurdistan for 50 years and longer. You can go back to the 19-teens. But no one took it to the level of ISIS, right? And the Yazidi communities, they existed because no one had ever taken it to that level. You saw men executed while their women were systematically raped. You saw the enslavement and the sale of human beings. So if the genesis is political, the outcomes are far beyond political. Also, if the genesis is political, then it's regional. And the recruits who served under ISIS, tragically, are from every corner of the globe, right? From Australia, from Germany, from the United States, certainly from Iraq and Syria and Saudi Arabia. But this is, I think it's beyond political. The mistake I do think we make with ISIS, and I support President Trump most of the time, to declare victory over ISIS without specifically saying on the battlefield is almost as if to say you've won over an idea. And so long as one adherent to that idea draws breath, that idea lives. So the price of security is eternal vigilance, right? Probably no one in the world understands that better than the KRG. Why do you have a stable, secure region in the sea of conflict? So to declare victory over anything, it only is inviting tragedy the very next day. So I don't think it, I mean, I understand your argument that it's from political roots, but it transcends politics to a global ideology. And again, I mean, I know far too many people who faithfully adhere to Islam who hate ISIS just as much as me. So to say it's a political Shia-Sunni thing, I think oversimplifies it, in my opinion.